Hi, Film Loom here. Today I'm going to explain a horror/mystery movie called Imaginary. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The film opens with Jessica trapped in a recurring nightmare. She's in her childhood home, stalked by a creature impersonating her father. The creature morphs into a monstrous spider, poised to attack, when Jessica jolts awake in her apartment, next to her husband. Max, accustomed to her troubled sleep, asks if she's had another nightmare. It's clear Jessica's sleep has been disturbed for some time. They are preparing to move to a new house, and Max believes the stress of the move, combined with issues with his ex-wife, is the cause of Jessica's nightmares. He suggests moving immediately to alleviate at least one source of stress. Jessica, initially hesitant, agrees and begins packing. Soon, the couple and their 2 daughters arrive at their new home, the very house where Jessica grew up. This house holds painful memories. As a child, Jessica lived there with her father, Ben, who, despite being a loving parent, inexplicably snapped one day. He attacked Jessica, leaving scars on her arms, and was subsequently institutionalized. Jessica then went to live with her grandparents. The film then establishes the dynamics of Jessica's present family. She's happily married to Max and is stepmother to his 2 daughters, Taylor and Alice. While Alice has readily accepted Jessica, Taylor remains distant and reserved. Despite this, Jessica strives to build a positive relationship with both girls, showing Alice around their new home. That afternoon, Jessica returns to her work. She's a successful writer and illustrator, author of the award-winning children's book series Molly Millipede and Simon the Spider. Currently, she's under pressure to meet a deadline for her new book. While engrossed in her work, Alice enters and asks to play a game. Jessica, though stressed about the deadline, agrees, wanting to connect with her stepdaughter. Alice introduces Jessica to an imaginary friend named Chauncey, a bear living in the house's basement. Jessica initially humors Alice, but strange occurrences begin to unfold. Alice becomes increasingly fixated on Chauncey, and Jessica starts experiencing unsettling events in the house, blurring the lines between reality and her nightmares. The house itself seems to hold a dark presence, stirring up Jessica's buried childhood trauma and making her question the nature of Alice's imaginary friend. Pleased by Alice's invitation, Jessica agrees to play hide-and-seek. During the game, Jessica receives a call from her editor and steps outside to take it. Alice continues searching for her stepmother, eventually venturing into the basement. In the dimly lit space, Alice discovers a teddy bear hidden behind some wooden boxes. This isn't just any stuffed toy, it seems to communicate with Alice telepathically, introducing itself as Chauncey the bear and stating it's hungry. Alice takes the teddy bear upstairs to her room. Meanwhile, Taylor, taking selfies in her room, notices a disturbing image in one of her photos, a strange old woman staring directly into her room from the corner of the picture. Taylor goes outside to investigate but finds no one. Instead, she meets Liam, a neighborhood boy. They quickly connect, and Liam invites her to hang out. Jessica, finishing her call, joins them. However, Taylor, annoyed by Jessica's overly friendly demeanor, abruptly returns to her room. The next day, Jessica, feeling inspired, returns to her writing. Alice enters, carrying Chauncey, and announces they're playing a scavenger hunt. The first task is to find things that make Alice happy, and she asks Jessica to create something cheerful. Jessica paints a smiley face on a blue rubber ball and gives it to Alice, who is delighted. That night, as Jessica prepares for bed, she hears thumping noises from the basement. Investigating, she finds the same rubber ball, but the smiley face has now been turned into a frown. Her attention is drawn to a box labeled Jessica 5. Inside are paintings Jessica made as a 5-year-old. One particular drawing, a vivid depiction of a door, catches her eye. The image has a surreal quality, and beneath it is written, "Never ever." Jessica leaves the drawing in the basement and goes upstairs to check on Alice. She hears Alice having a tea party with Chauncey and decides to record the scene to show Max. The scene seems innocent enough until Jessica hears a woman's voice coming from Alice's room. Alarmed, she immediately opens the door, only to find the room empty. Alice is talking to empty space as if someone is there. This unsettling event deepens Jessica's unease about Chauncey and the house's strange atmosphere. The line between Alice's imagination and something more sinister begins to blur. A woman lunges at Jessica, causing a commotion that draws Taylor to the scene. Taylor pulls the woman off Jessica, revealing her to be Max's mentally unstable ex-wife, Samantha. Samantha had broken into the house to see her daughters but became violent upon seeing Jessica. The police arrive and return Samantha to the mental institution. The following afternoon, Max leaves for a show with his band. As the family bids him farewell, an elderly woman approaches Jessica. She introduces herself as Gloria, Jessica's former babysitter from decades ago. Jessica has only faint memories of her time in the house before her mother's passing. Later, Jessica visits her father, Ben, at a nursing home. Ben's mental state has deteriorated significantly since the incident where he attacked Jessica. Despite this, she visits him regularly, hoping for a glimmer of recognition. She shows him a camcorder with old home videos, but Ben suddenly grabs her arm, repeatedly saying, "Get away from CB." Back at the house, Taylor invites Liam over. Alice dislikes Liam and irritably wishes Chauncey would eat him up. Liam tries to persuade Taylor to raid her father's liquor stash. Taylor initially refuses, but Liam grabs a whiskey bottle anyway. He clumsily drops it, creating a mess. Annoyed, Taylor sends him upstairs for a towel while she cleans. While searching for towels, Liam encounters something bizarre. Chauncey is lying under a sheet in the middle of the hallway. The teddy bear then begins to move, dragging itself toward Liam. Suddenly, the toy lunges at him, transforming into a monstrous figure. Liam screams in terror but is snapped back to reality by Jessica, who has just arrived home. She confronts Taylor and Liam. Embarrassed, Liam leaves without mentioning what he saw. A few days later, Jessica returns to her home office and discovers a disturbing scene. Someone has cut the heads off all the dolls in her dollhouse. This act deeply unsettles her, further intensifying the feeling that something sinister is at play within the house. The occurrences surrounding Alice and Chauncey become increasingly alarming, and Jessica begins to suspect there is more to the imaginary friend than meets the eye. Jessica discovers that the heads of all the dolls in her dollhouse have been removed. Assuming Alice is acting out due to a lack of attention, Jessica decides to talk to her. She shares her own strained relationship with her father and her difficult upbringing. During this conversation, she hears Alice playing outside and checks under the bedsheet, realizing with embarrassment that she'd been talking to Chauncey the teddy bear. Looking around Alice's room, Jessica finds the scavenger hunt list. It starts innocently but gradually becomes more disturbing, culminating in 3 sadistic challenges: do something that scares you, do something that will get you in trouble, and do something that hurts. Alarmed, Jessica looks out the window and sees Alice preparing to impale her hand on a rusty nail protruding from a piece of wood ripped from the fence. Realizing Alice is about to complete the final, dangerous task, Jessica rushes outside and stops her. Concerned, Jessica arranges for Alice to see a child psychologist, Dr. Soto. During a recorded session, Dr. Soto asks Alice about her imaginary friend, Chauncey. Alice describes Chauncey and Dr. Soto encourages her to discuss removing the dangerous tasks from the scavenger hunt list. Alice agrees and speaks to the teddy bear. However, Chauncey's demeanor shifts, becoming aggressive and calling Jessica a fake mommy and a bad person. Alice defends Jessica and declares she no longer wants to be friends with Chauncey, leaving the room in tears. After the abruptly ended session, Jessica asks Dr. Soto about what just transpired. Dr. Soto explains that Alice has created an imaginary friend, a common childhood phenomenon. Jessica insists that Alice isn't imagining Chauncey, she's interacting with a physical object, the teddy bear. Realizing the potential significance of this, Dr. Soto states that there is no teddy bear. To prove her point, she shows Jessica the video recording of the session. In the video, Alice is clearly talking and reacting, but the teddy bear is nowhere to be seen. This revelation shocks Jessica and confirms that something far more sinister than a simple imaginary friend is influencing Alice. The absence of the teddy bear in the recording solidifies the idea that Chauncey is not just a figment of Alice's imagination, but something else entirely, perhaps a malevolent entity using the teddy bear as a conduit. Jessica is horrified to see that the video recording shows Alice talking to empty space. The teddy bear is absent. Confirming her fears, Taylor states she hasn't seen any teddy bear. It's clear that only Jessica and Alice can perceive Chauncey. Dr. Soto then shows footage of a similar case involving a boy named Luis and his malevolent imaginary friend, who exhibited the same manipulative behavior Chauncey is displaying with Alice. Disturbingly, Luis repeats the phrase "never ever," the same words written under Jessica's childhood drawing of a door. Moments after Dr. Soto leaves, Alice vanishes from her room. Taylor, blaming Jessica, searches for her sister and encounters their eccentric neighbor, Gloria. Gloria claims to know Alice's whereabouts and invites Taylor to her house. There, Gloria explains Jessica's childhood history. Jessica, too, had an imaginary friend named Chauncey. Gloria explains that imaginary friends are spirits that attach themselves to children and can become malevolent if abandoned. Jessica had forsaken Chauncey as a child, and now the vengeful spirit seeks to lure Alice into a different realm called the Never Ever. Gloria and Taylor return to Jessica, who has deciphered the meaning of Never Ever from her old drawing. The trio, Jessica, Taylor, and Gloria, descend into the basement, where they decide to play the scavenger hunt, completing the 3 sinister tasks on the list. Suddenly, a glowing door materializes in the corner of the basement, and they enter. They find themselves in the Never Ever, a dimension shaped by the imaginations of the children who reside there. While searching for Alice, the entity calling itself Chauncey appears in its monstrous bear form and violently attacks Gloria, tearing her apart. Jessica and Taylor manage to escape the immediate danger and continue their search for Alice within this terrifying realm. Jessica and Taylor stumble upon a room resembling their old city apartment. Alice, dressed as a princess, is surrounded by presents, with Samantha also present. Realizing she needs to convince Alice that the Never Ever realm isn't real, Jessica starts smearing paint on the walls, something Samantha would never allow. Alice joins her, and a new door appears. The daughters escape, but Chauncey, in his monstrous form, pursues Jessica.